Welcome to Security Awareness Training. This training is intended to provide you with awareness on information security threats and ways that you, as a Pasco County teammate, can ensure that Pasco County networks, systems, and facilities maintain confidentiality when appropriate, integrity, and availability. During this training, we will visit numerous topics to include threats overview, password safety, web protection, and email protection. A threat is a possible danger that might exploit a vulnerability and therefore cause possible harm. The Threats Overview section of this training will provide ways that you can become proactive against threats that may present themselves here in Pasco County. This graph demonstrates the methods of attack that hackers tend to use when compromising individuals or systems. You can see here that over the past 3 years, hackers continue to base their methods of attacks from outside of a network, and statistics show that they are becoming increasingly better at successfully executing these types of attacks. Now that we've seen the statistics for the root cause of data breaches, let's take a look at lost or stolen records by industry. If you shift your focus to the blue 2017 data, you will notice that governments have been significantly impacted by cyber attacks around the world at federal, state, and local levels. Our entire Pasco County BOCC team must remain proactive in this fight. Our mission, vision, and values depend on your due diligence. And finally, what motivates a hacker to steal information? You'll notice that the majority of cybercrimes share the motive of identity theft. This information might suggest that hackers are seeking monetary gain, but this is based on speculation. Threats Overview. There are countless cybersecurity threats that exist today. Some of the more sophisticated examples that leverage both human and machine interaction are malware, social engineering, and phishing. What is malware, and how does it affect you as a Pasco County employee? More importantly, what can you do to assist in keeping Pasco County networks free of malware? Malware is a generic term for a number of threat families, all of which have different names, attributes, and capabilities. Malware is made up of threats that you have probably heard of before. The most common threats include viruses, worms, trojans, ransomware, rootkits, and botkits.
The human body is capable of many diverse and amazing things, but it is also susceptible to attack. Viruses, parasites, pathogens, and more can sometimes sneak into the body and wreak havoc, using the body's resources for their benefit. Your computer is similarly capable of amazing things, but can get infiltrated with malicious software or malware and use your computer's resources for a cybercriminal's benefit. This malware is not typically a simple prank, but is specifically designed to steal personal, financial, or business information in order to make money. Malware can get to your computer in a variety of ways, via infected websites, email attachments, USB drives, or malicious URLs in emails or web pages. These infections then perform harmful activities such as accessing credit card numbers, passwords, or other private information, destroying data, taking control of your computer and demanding payment, or using your computer to send spam. There are many types of infections, including computer viruses, worms, trojans, rootkits, ransomware, and spyware, and often several of these combine into one attack. A computer virus is a piece of malicious code that hides while making copies of itself on your computer without your consent. A worm is similar to a virus, but can quickly spread over the internet independently. Both programs can perform harmful acts once they've gotten into your system. A Trojan disguises itself as a normal or desirable program to trick you into installing it. It then performs various malicious functions, such as deleting files, granting remote access to your computer, or keylogging, which is recording your keystrokes in order to obtain personal information and passwords. A rootkit is a threat that conceals other malware so that it stays hidden from you, making it more challenging to detect and delete. Ransomware is a threat that locks you out of your files and demands payment in order to restore access. Spyware is a threat that collects sensitive personal information while you use your computer, such as keylogging your passwords or credit card numbers.
Over the past 10 years, malware has grown at a staggering rate. Here you can see that the growth of total malware continues to increase, yet studies show that the growth of new malware is on a significant decline. What this information suggests is that new malware is not always required to trap an unsuspecting user. You may have asked yourself before, is malware on Windows only? The simple answer to this question is no, but there are reasons that suggest a large majority of malware is Windows-based. While malware exists on all operating systems, malware is typically targeted at Windows systems due to a large number of users worldwide. When malware is targeted at alternative operating systems, it typically has a high infection rate due to the misconception that Mac, Linux, and Android devices are safe without user regard or endpoint security installed. Here are some simple tips to avoid becoming a victim of malware. 1. Be careful what you plug into your device or workstation. There are attack methods that prey on unsuspecting users by using mislabeled media. 2. Be cautious of what you click on. You should always be certain of what you are accessing. 3. Attend annual security awareness training. One of the primary goals you should take away from this training is to avoid becoming complacent in your daily routines. Let's take a look at what social engineering is and how it can affect us. Social engineering uses influence and persuasion to deceive people by convincing them that the social engineer is someone he or she is not, or by manipulation. As a result, a social engineer is able to take advantage of people to obtain information with or without the use of technology. As we proceed, try to answer these two questions. 1. Do you know what a social engineering attack or social engineer looks like? 2. Can you identify a threat when it's standing in front of you? Individuals who initiate social engineering attacks prey off of human psychology and curiosity in order to compromise their target's information. With this human-centric focus in mind, it is up to the users to counter these types of attacks. Let's take a look at a few of them. Phishing is the fraudulent practice of sending emails purporting to be from reputable companies in order to induce individuals to reveal personal information. Phishing attacks always instill a sense of urgency or fear to manipulate a user into acting promptly. Pretexting is a form of social engineering where attackers focus on creating a fabricated scenario that they can use to try and steal their victims' personal information. Unlike phishing attacks, which use urgency or fear, pretexting attacks rely on building a sense of trust with the victim. Shoulder surfing is the use of direct observation techniques, such as looking over someone's shoulder to obtain information. Dumpster diving is a technique used to physically retrieve information that could be used to carry out an attack. Tailgating, also known as piggybacking, involves someone who lacks the proper authentication following an employee into an access-restricted area. Vishing is the fraudulent practice of making phone calls or leaving voice messages purporting to be from reputable companies in order to induce individuals to reveal sensitive information. Here are a few tips to avoid becoming a victim to a social engineer. 1. Be careful of the information that you disclose. Social engineers are masters of disguise. 2. Verify the credentials of all visitors. If an individual does not have access to an area or location, ask to see a Pasco County issued ID badge, or make the individual wait until a supervisor has a chance to understand their reason for being there. Social engineers prey on politeness. 3. Don't hesitate to ask questions. Anyone with good intentions should not have a problem answering questions you may have for them. The largest cyber threat in the world today is the phishing attack. Phishing attacks target the human element of information security, which is becoming increasingly prevalent in cyber and computer network operations, and is also the most unpredictable factor in cybersecurity. Email phishing, like phishing in a traditional sense, is the act of setting the bait or trap and waiting until an unsuspecting user clicks the malicious URL or attachment that was intentionally sent by a hacker.
Successfully posing as someone else in the real world is difficult and quite uncommon. But online, where anonymity is easy, impersonation occurs all the time. Criminals send millions of emails every day in which they pretend to be legitimate companies or government agencies. These messages trick unsuspecting users into infecting their computers with malicious code, or fool them into giving out personal or financial information, or even their credentials, like usernames and passwords. You can reduce your risk from phishing attacks and better protect your identity, bank accounts, and contacts by following these steps. Check the URL of links in an email before clicking on them. Links aren't always what they seem. Even if the text looks legitimate, the actual site to which it links may be malicious. Verify links by checking out the actual web address or URL before clicking. To do this, hover over the link for a moment without clicking until a box appears showing the actual link. If it is different from the text or looks suspicious, do not click on it. Better yet, go directly to the website of the organization that supposedly sent the message by Googling it or typing it into the address bar. You can also call the institution to verify that the email is from them. Similarly, avoid opening attachments to emails that look suspicious. Keep personal information out of email. Because email and online conversations can never be considered truly private, leave personal information, such as credentials, account numbers, and identification numbers, out of emails and other online correspondence. A legitimate company will never ask for this information via email.
Let's take a look at a few phishing attack statistics. 97% of individuals cannot identify a sophisticated phishing email. 91% of cyber attacks begin via phishing. Only 3% of targeted users report malicious emails to management. Emails remain the primary targeting method of advanced attacks. Can you identify the warning signs in this example? If you're not able to quickly identify some of the warning signs, remember, pay close attention to the email sender and glance over the email for major grammatical errors. You might be thinking, great, now I have to proofread every email I receive. This is not the case. You will only need to follow this practice if an email contains a URL, hyperlink, or attachment. We will further discuss our new Mimecast phishing protection later in this training that will aid you tremendously in this process. Here are a few tips to avoid becoming victim of email phishing attempts. 1. As previously mentioned, make yourself aware of who the email sender is. A majority of the time, a phishing email can be spotted within the from line of the email. 2. Read the email for grammar and spelling mistakes if a URL, hyperlink, or attachment is within. 3. Be mindful of what you click. Your goal is to be able to click with authority. Passwords are a hot topic of discussion when we look to secure applications, systems, and other devices. The nature in which password safety is applied can vary between administrative, operational, and technical control.
Strong passwords protect your online banking, your wireless network, and even your social networking sites to help keep your money secure, your identity protected, and your friends safe from spam. Weak passwords, however, often use easy-to-find personal information, such as names of loved ones, license plate numbers, birth dates, and so on. They're easily compromised. Use the following tips to create strong passwords. Use a combination of upper and lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols in your passwords. It helps to think of a phrase and use the first 1 or 2 letters of each word to create the password. Use a unique password for each account. Using a different password for each account can prevent criminals from accessing all your accounts if one password is compromised. Use a password manager to help keep track of your passwords. A secure, encrypted password manager will automatically track all your passwords, so you only have to remember one master password. Update your passwords frequently. Changing passwords every 3 to 6 months for important accounts can increase your defenses if passwords fall into the wrong hands.
Here are a few tips to ensure password safety. 1. Utilize unique passwords across all websites and applications. Best practices now recommend that passwords should be created using a long phrase rather than alphanumeric combination-based password. 2. Store passwords in a password manager rather than writing them down. 3. Choose unique security questions that cannot be identified via social media. Web access in a business environment is a privilege and should be treated as such. In this section, we will look at ways to create web protection from an end-user standpoint. Ensuring that a web session remains secure relies mostly on your ability to identify a secure website and your diligence to ensure that you are utilizing the most secure means of internet access available to you. In some cases, this might mean limiting internet connectivity until you can assure that your county-issued device is not at risk. First, let's take a look at web browser safety and learn a few ways to promote a security-aware work environment. Browser safety is a task that requires little effort, in return for significant gain. You will see on the next few slides just how easy this task is and how little it will affect your daily processes.
Use secure connections when accessing personal accounts or making purchases. How do you know if a site is secure? When you access a secure connection, the address will include HTTPS, and with most browsers will also display a lock icon in the address bar. Using a secure and trusted connection will scramble any information you send, so it can only be unscrambled when it arrives at its destination site. If you click on the lock, you can also see the website's certificate. Make sure it matches the address in your address bar and that it is signed by a trusted authority.
Let's take a look at this example. This is the login screen for the Pasco County Outlook web portal. Can you identify the problem with this web page? Although this web page appears to be the same as the one you might be accustomed to accessing, there is one minor detail that could potentially compromise your credentials. While this is a website that you are familiar with, this deceiving tactic can be used across the web. Let's take a look at another example. Do you immediately notice the differences here from the past slide? If you notice the secure S at the end of the HTTP and the lock at the end of the URL toolbar, then you are well on your way to ensuring a secure browsing session. If you are not sure if a website is secure, you always have the option to view a website certificate. Clicking on the HTTPS lock icon allows you to view details specific to the certificate that secures any sensitive information that you submit through your browser. Here are a few ways to ensure secure web browsing. 1. If you plan to enter or share sensitive information, ensure that the website you are visiting uses HTTPS. 2. Disable stored passwords. All modern browsers now ask if you would like to store your username and password when entering login credentials. While this practice is convenient, it significantly increases security risks. 3. Websites are full of ads. Don't become a victim of bait clicking. Public Wi-Fi. It's available just about anywhere and extremely convenient. Though you will typically connect to a Pasco County network, it is important to understand there are risks associated with connecting to public Wi-Fi.
Be cautious when using public Wi-Fi. Avoid connecting to networks you don't know. When connecting to public Wi-Fi, avoid online banking and financial transactions or submitting other personal information so you can have a more secure online experience.
Here are a few tips to ensure a secure internet connection. 1. Never connect a county-issued device to public Wi-Fi. 2. If available, use a MiFi device when connecting from your county-issued device. 3. Treat public Wi-Fi connections as compromised. If you find yourself needing to connect to public Wi-Fi, refrain from transmitting secure information. Email protection. Okay, you might be thinking, we've already discussed this. Remember, 91% of cyber attacks originate from email. We need your help to ensure Pasco County does not become a portion of this statistic. On the next two slides, we will visit examples of phishing attacks via URL and attachment attack methods, and exhibit the features that Mimecast Advanced Protection offers to you. Here, we see an example of the recently implemented Mimecast URL protection. Since you are becoming more security aware, you should now notice that this email appears to be spam or a possible phishing attempt. If you think back to the phishing section of this training, you will remember that verifying a URL's destination within the body of an email is easily accomplished by hovering over the hyperlink. You should notice that this hyperlink, which appears to be spam, has been rerouted to Mimecast to ensure that the link you click on does not route you to a malicious website. In this example, Mimecast determined that the URL within the body of the email was malicious, and access has been blocked for your protection. If Mimecast determines that the URL is safe, you will be directed to the destination website. Now that we have seen how Mimecast Advanced URL Protection can help with URL phishing attacks, let's take a look at Mimecast Advanced Attachment Protection. With a quick glance, you should notice that this email has an attachment titled Quote. At this point, you have the option to open the attachment, but first understand that this attachment has been rewritten by Mimecast, stripping any calculations or programmatic capabilities from the file. This option affords you the capability to safely open an attachment without the chance of malicious content initiating. Just below the attached file, you should always see a Mimecast Attachment Protection Instructions message attachment. If you click on this attached message, you will notice that another message appears within Outlook that will allow for you to request the original attachment with all calculations or programmatic capabilities. If you click the Request Files button, you should be redirected to the web page that says your request to release the files is being processed. Once Mimecast verifies that the original attachment is free of any malicious content, a second email will be sent to you in its entirety. Here are a few tips for email protection. 1. Ensure that URLs have been redirected by Mimecast prior to clicking them. Remember that this is easily accomplished by hovering your mouse over the link. 2. Only request attachments from Mimecast that you believe to be legitimate. If you don't typically receive attachments from a particular sender, or you are not expecting an email that contains an attachment, do not let curiosity take over. Anytime you receive an email that is not legitimate, press the Shift and Delete keys to permanently delete the email. 3. Use your Pasco County email for business purposes only. If you feel you are a victim of an email phishing scam, please contact the IT Help Desk immediately. This concludes Security Awareness Training. Remember, you are Pasco County's first line of defense. When we all become security aware, Pasco County's vision, mission, and values will be realized.